Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Old and Bitter, our very first podcast of 2025 takes place tonight. I'm John, I'm old and bitter. We got Scott, who's just old, and then we have Ricky, who is our, I don't know, what would you call him, Scott? Our
guru,
our technology guru, our young mind of the group. Today we're going to start things off.
Wait, is Ricky old or bitter?
You know what? I'd probably say, I don't know if he'd even say maybe a little bitter, but that's about it.
I'm turning right.
Yeah. Ricky's a little bit bitter. I'm very old and bitter. But I think tonight we're going to kick things off with something that we're all passionate about. And we all got together and started working out together. And for us old guys, and Ricky being the young one, we're just going to kind of go over some of the workout rules and attire and agenda and everything that takes place in the gym and how much it's changed since I think when we were younger and growing up. I know, back in the early 80s and late 80s and 90s when, especially 90s when bodybuilding was so big. And I mean, there were just rules that you knew you didn't have to be told, but when you would go to a gym and they'd say, hey, just a couple rules, make sure you rack your weights and put things together. And, I think that's just kind of common sense because, back in the day in the late 90s, I worked out at a gym and you never had to tell people to pick up your weights. But today, it's completely different. So
would you say the bigger push then, John, is because people were just bodybuilding back then and today it's more just about being in shape?
You know what? It's a good question. I don't know. I honestly think it's a mindset of the younger people who are working out that don't understand. I mean, we can all attest when we go to the gym, how many times do we sit there and we see stuff left on a machine, or, you go to do a leg press and somebody was on there with 10 wheels on each side and it just, then they take off and you're there having to pick stuff up. And it's just, I don't understand why that's so difficult. I mean, we had that same issue on Monday. We were at the gym, wanted to use this bench press machine. Scott and I are over there and we're getting ready to work out. And I go to the one guy and said, how many sets do you have? And he's just, kind of looked at me, I got 2 left. And then when he leaves,
it took him a half hour.
Yeah, it took him a half hour. But when we leave, but when he leaves, we're sitting there and he's got every weight completely out on the floor or actually all over the, it was all over the floor. It was, he still left weights on the machine and then just kind of took off. And then of course he didn't wipe down the stuff. But I think every gym owner, every person in the gym, I mean, that's just a basic common rule. So I guess the question is, how did we go from having that be established to nowadays where it's just like, it's almost like you feel like, you have to interrupt someone and say, hey, can you pick up your weights? And you don't want to sound like a jerk about it.
Well, let me ask you this. It's 1988 and you're at a Gold's Gym and someone does that. What happens?
If it's not the big bodybuilder who's next to you, he's going to say, hey, dude, you need to pick up your weights. It's going to be someone who works there that says, hey, you need to put away your weights. It's common sense. It's just like...
So now does staff just not want to offend people by asking them, or?
That's a good question, because I think a lot of times it's just like, what do I do? I mean, I don't want to make anybody upset if I have to go over there and tell them what I'm supposed to do. What do you think, Rick?
Well, I guess the question is, has the staff changed, or have the participants or the gym goers changed themselves, or is it a change in the culture overall? Because we've noticed the staff is younger, right? They're millennials or younger. And I think more than anything nowadays, people of that age bracket, we're losing the ability to talk to people. We're losing the soft skills, if you will, the communication skills. We've been more connected than any generation in the entire history of the human race, but don't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
More connected through our devices, but we've never been more alone.
Yeah.
And so if you think about the people who work there at the gym, the staff, they're all typically going to be younger. And those are the ones that are more connected, but never been more alone.
Yeah.
So going and telling somebody to, clean up your stuff, can you please pick up your weights, whatever else, when they can barely talk to anybody else unless it's over through text. I mean, that's pushing the boundaries there for them.
Yeah. I think the other thing too is I don't think the younger generation knows how to add. Because if it says 45-pound plates go there, that means 45-pound plates go there. You don't put a 5.5 and then put a 45 on, then a quarter and a 10 and then two 35s. I mean, it's just like, Scott and I were working out on Monday and it's just like, we felt like we were having to pick up after kids because it's just like, they don't even put stuff back where it's supposed to be. It's got the little label. Hey, this is a 2.5. This is a 5-pounder. This is a 10-pounder.
Yeah.
That's where it goes. Why is there a 45-pounder on a 10-pound spot? And then it's covered in it. It just.
But Ricky, it seems like it surprises John each time because he shakes his head, bends down, picks it up, and rearranges it. But it's every time he shakes his head.
At least he's consistent, and that's what the gym is all about: consistency.
Going.
That's the old and bitter part of me because I'm old, which means I'm going to do it anyway. But I'm bitter about it because I'm like, why am I have to pick up after somebody I don't even, I don't know, or it's just like this is common gym etiquette. And speaking of, you were just talking about the idea of not being able to communicate. And of course, I think when you look at the generations now, with the phone use, that's the whole other thing that just drives me nuts. Going to a gym and then these people are on their phones and it's not so much either it's the lady or the guy with a tripod who sets it up right next to your stuff and they look at you like you're invading their space or they're angry with you because it's like, dude, you're in my view. It's like, okay, first of all, I'm old, and yes, I'm bitter. And second of all, you don't own the gym. I'm paying the same amount that everybody else is paying. And if my machine's here, I'm going to go ahead and do it. That's the thing that one of the things that really drives me crazy. And Scott and I were talking about it. We were at the gym, and there's a girl. She sets up her tripod right on a Smith machine, and she was videotaping herself and talking to a friend at the same time. And it was just, I don't think in the 4 sets that we each did on the machine next to her that she ever did and did a rep, did a set, didn't do anything. And I think, that's the whole other aspect. You go into these gyms and it's just like they allow people to be on their phones or you're waiting to be, hey, how many more sets do you have? Oh, just 2. But after each set, they're on their phone for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
When is enough? And again, is it the gym personnel to come over and say, hey, look, you can't be on your phone. There's people waiting.
Right.
Back in the day, we didn't have, we had cell phones and stuff like that, but nobody was sitting there on their phones taking pictures of themselves and doing this other stuff. That, the gym I used to work out back in late 90s, it had a posing room where people, because bodybuilding was huge back then, and they go in, they pose. And now it's just like, hey, I'm just going to take pictures of myself. Or they're flexing their upper body, and then it's just like, well, it's obvious why you're flexing your upper body because number 1, you don't do legs, number 2, you don't do calves, and number 3, it's 103 degrees here in Texas, and you're wearing long pants. It's just like, dude, focus on your whole entire body, but still, it's just the whole aspect of the phone and being on the phone and taking up time and the basic gym etiquette rules. I think that's the stuff that really, really upsets me the most because we see it all the time.
Yeah. And
you don't see a 50-year-old or 60-year-old or a 40-year-old lady or guy walk in the gym with their phone. It's the younger generation. And it's just like, like Scott, you were saying, back in the 90s at a Gold Gym in California, some dude would take the phone and just throw it across the phone. Dude, if you want to take pictures, do it outside. You're in, it's gym etiquette.
Right.
So, these are the things that, I think frustrate me the most when it comes to the gym. And of course, wiping down the machines, you see people leave and there's a giant sweat mark there. Now, I will say at the gym we go to, I'd probably say about 70% of the people, maybe 80% are really, really good about wiping down the machines when they're done. Mm-hmm. But still, it's a culture. It's, so how do we change the culture, or how do we fix things where doesn't seem like you're stepping on anybody's toes when it's a situation where, we're dealing with all these issues.
Well, and I think, and I'll provide some insight, I think, for the phone usage here, because I do use my phone at the gym, especially when I'm working out on my own. I use my phone at the gym a lot. But I think there's a difference when you're talking about culture and you're talking about not stepping on toes, I think there's a difference in a culture change, but yet maintaining respect and common decency for other folks, right? So if I'm working out by myself and I don't have anyone there to spot me or anything else like that, I will set my phone up on my station to check for, for technique or whatever.
Sure.
I'll do a video, and then while I'm doing the rest, while I'm in between sets, I typically put a timer on my watch for about a minute and a half. And so then I'll go back over the video and look at technique. How much am I arching my back? Am I going down low enough? So on and so forth. Because I don't have anyone there to critique that. And sometimes with the way those squat racks are stationed towards the mirrors, whatever exercise you're doing, you're facing the mirror, so you can't see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Secondly, a lot of the times in between sets, while I'm waiting for the rest period to go through, I'm updating I keep a note with all the exercise that I do and with how many reps with each weight that I've done. And typically I track my progress that way. I'll say, okay, well, I did, 3 sets of 12 at this much weight. And I'll put a little note outside. This has been good. This is good. Next week I need to go up 5 pounds, or I need to stay here for another week because I've not made the progress that I want to. Keep using this weight, or heck, I might even need to go down next week because I'm not getting my form like I need to. So I'm updating my notes, and then the timer goes off and I'm doing another set, and then I'm updating notes again. Or I've got a question about an exercise, so I'll do one, and I've got a question about it because it doesn't feel right.
Look it up.
So I'll look it up, I'll look at a video up or whatever else, and then I'll go at it by myself. But that's just me trying to use the phone as a tool to assist me in my workout, more than it is me trying to put myself on, social media or whatever else.
Yeah.
I'm trying to progress.
And I'm totally fine with that because, there's a purpose. There's a reason you're doing it.
Sure.
But if you look around at the gym, it's just like, it's almost just like, the posing and the texting on the machine. That's the stuff that bothers me the most. Because dude, if you're going to text somebody, step aside and let somebody else jump in. Or, hey, can I work in with you? Cause I seriously think some kids don't even know what work in means because you'll be like, hey, how many more sets do you have? Can we work in?
I was going to ask you, when you're doing that in between your sets, someone asks that, do you allow them to work in?
One, I've never been asked that question.
Really?
But if I had...
We got asked twice today.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if I had been asked that question, 100%. This is a community gym. I'm with you guys too. Like, that's the way that I feel about it is we're all in here using this stuff at the same time. In fact, I would rather have somebody work in a set with me. That might be something I can watch them do what they're doing is I'm updating my thing too, and I might gain some sort of, benefit or something as to watching their technique and how much they're doing and what they're doing differently than what I'm doing, I only stand to learn and grow from watching other folks. So
you mentioned a word there I want to hit on for a second. You said community gym, and I think us going together, we're not pulling out our phones because we're talking, right?
Sure.
I don't know, some people, if they look at the gym as a community, they're so in their zone with their headphones, and people are in there by themselves that they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to say hi. They just do your business and get out, which I get too. I appreciate that. You're on a time crunch or whatever, but
I was gonna say, I've been
different communities, different for different people.
And see, that's the other thing that bothers me. I'm totally fine with people with their earbuds in and all that stuff. But when they're in there and then all of a sudden you get one that's screaming the song that they're listening to out loud.
Or you can hear their song.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, you got headphones on. If it's that loud, you got problems. Or secondly, I don't need to hear you sing in a gym and yell and scream the song that you're hearing.
Yeah.
Because be respectful of everybody else. And I think that's the problem. That's an issue where I think really needs to be hit on. It's all about respect. It's about, respecting the gym rules, expecting, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, respecting the people around you. Just like, you don't go up to, hey, how many sets you got? Oh, I just started. I'm going to be here for a while. Well, what does that mean? Like, you got 5 sets, you got 4 sets, you got, how much, I'm going to be here for a while. And it's like, okay, well, what happens now? It's just like, do you walk away or do you go, hey, can I work in with you? And they're, well, I'm going to be here for a while. It's just like, oh, well, okay, I guess that means no, which again, is just like, dude, you don't need to be on one machine for 15 or 20, 30 minutes while you've got 50, 60 other people waiting in line, or they see you over there. It's like, oh, that guy's still on that machine. That lady's still on that machine.
You know, and I did run into that when I went to a different gym. There were only 3 squat racks in that area.
Sorry, that was Ivy. Ivy's keeping us safe. Our guard dog.
Watchdog. And I saw a guy. He was doing squats, and then he also brought in a bench, and he was doing something. He was doing supersets, is what he was doing. But he was taking up an entire squat rack with his supersets. So you didn't even have the option to work in if you wanted. Because he'd do one thing, and then he would stop and then do another thing, and then pick up the other thing or whatever else. And there was 2 other people on the other side. So like you can't, and I guess working in the squats is a lot more difficult. You got to take the weight off and unload.
Sure.
But anyway, I don't know. I felt like you should probably just be working on squats and let somebody else do the other, use the bench press for whatever else they're doing instead of hogging it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to superset, which is fine. I mean, because I've done that. It's just like
Stay within your area. Don't spread out.
Yeah, it's not
everywhere.
like I'm going to do my leg press. I'm going to walk all the way to the squat racks, and then I'm going to go to the bench. And then you leave your bag there, and when somebody jumps on, oh, I was using that. It's just like if they're side by side, or bring something close, or give hey, can I work in with you? Yeah, I'm just supersetting, so just go ahead and jump in your set, whatever. Right. And it's like, there's been times where we've been together, the 3 of us working out, and somebody goes, oh, how many more do you have? Hey, you know what, there's 3 of us, jump in. You can jump in between us. Again, it's about that respect. It's about that, hey, we're all here to, work on our gains and our goals and everything that we need to do. And it's just like, I don't want to hold you up. And, I've got, 15 sets I got to do left before I can let anybody else touch this machine.
Well, and I think discernment with regards to resources is a big key too, because like doing the supersets, right? If there's plenty of weights, I know at our gym there's 5 or 6 different sets of like 40-pound dumbbells, right? Yeah. So if you've still got 4 or 5 sets of dumbbells, I don't feel bad taking a set of dumbbells over somewhere and where I'm going to do a superset to something else. But if I get over there and there's only 1 or 2 sets of them, I'm probably going to hold off because I'll just do that exercise later because somebody else may need those dumbbells. Yeah. And the place that I was at, it was kind of, they didn't have a lot of variety with regards to how many weights they had and whatever else. You were pretty well just stuck with what you'd had right there. So when somebody else is doing supersets, you're really robbing from somebody else when you're doing it.
Especially if it's one of the more crowded, busier times at the gym.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what else? And I thought about this today because I saw it today, and it goes back to just basic gym etiquette. But again, it comes down to the point of why are we letting people do this? It's just like guys coming in sandals or clogs or Crocs or whatever. Crocs, not clogs.
I was going to drop a weight on him.
I'm dating myself from saying clogs. But yeah, Crocs and all that other stuff. I mean, like your attire, you're going to wear what you... But when I was working at a gym, it's like you got to wear sneakers. You got to have, your toes have got to be closed up because, God forbid, a 45-pound or a 25 or a 10 hits that toe because you're taking it off, and all of a sudden it's like, dude, you got a busted toe, or even worse, who knows what's going to happen. But
and then they're going to want to hold the gym management responsible. Exactly.
And I probably saw at least 4 or 5 people today who had on Crocs and sandals today. And it's just like we used to, we would chase people down. You got shoes? No, you can't work out. Well, I'm a member. It doesn't make a difference. Dude. These are our rules. Yeah. And it's just like, it's gotten so lax now that I think it's just like you said, the communication aspect. These young people, they don't know how to communicate to say, hey, look, we've got rules over here, and, you got to have sneakers on.
Well, do you really want somebody else's athlete's foot?
No.
It's because they decided not to wear shoes.
Or they got those big old toenails that look like pork rinds hanging out of their socks that are just nasty and crunchy and whatever. No, nobody needs to see that. No. There are some things people don't need to see. Nobody needs to see your nasty toes. That's and again too, like I said, it's a safety issue too. It's all about, making sure that you're safe and people around you are safe and you follow the rules and guidelines to the gym.
Right.
So what rule do you think you see in your mind, your rules that you see violated the most?
Oh, man. Well, I think that I have 3 that I hate. I know you said 1, but I'm going to give you 3. racking the weights, putting the weights back. Okay, I guess that would that'd still be the same as taking them off the machine.
So when we got to the leg press today and there were 45 plates on each side, that would be an example of not racking
exactly.
the weights.
They did and they left it.
They were 5. Yeah. 10
It's like,
plates up there.
if you could put them on,
loading them for you. What are you talking about?
if you could put them on, you need to be able to take them off.
Yeah.
The rack and the weights and the phone use where it's not like what you were doing with it. It's just, the texting or sitting on a machine and taking up time where it's like, I got 2 more sets and then I do my 10 reps and then all of a sudden I'm going to pull out my phone. I'm going to talk to my friend for 15 minutes and then I'm going to do my next set.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you look at it from a phone aspect. I think you look at it from, the racking the weights. And then, here's another one. And this happened today and I was very, very bitter about it. I'm sitting in the sauna, the hot box, and then there's a guy comes in. 2 guys came in. One came in with his music on, but of course you could hear it through his headphones. It was so loud. And God forbid he was only in there for like 5 minutes, which is fine. But then another guy came in, and we were both sitting there just, we were on our phones, but no sound, no nothing. And then another guy comes in. He sits next to one of the guys in there, and then he makes a phone call. And so he's talking, he puts it on speaker and he's talking to some dude. Hey, what do you want to do tonight? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and the other guy and I are looking, he's like, are you kidding me? This is a sauna. We're here to just kind of like sweat and kind of just get into our Zen mode or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, and then when the guy left, we both looked at each other and go, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
But you didn't say anything.
No, because I was just bitter. I didn't want to cause a scene. So
This sauna can fit like what, 6 guys in it? You think?
Oh, at least, yeah, easy.
Yeah. I was in there and there
What
was
we were in yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
there was a guy doing like he was jumping and doing squats and he was doing wall push-ups while he was singing and music was on, and this other guy and I across the way are just. But neither of us said anything, and then after he left, we're both like, "Why didn't either of us say anything?"
Yeah. So why don't? And that's the other thing too. The guys that bring the dumbbells in and work out in the sauna to get a sweat.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? I mean, first of all,
a good question. What are they doing?
Yeah. I mean, why? What's the purpose of that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't. That's the part I don't understand. And I think it's. But again, this stuff never happened when I was like in my 20s and my 30s and even in my 40s working out. You didn't have all this stuff.
I think social media is a big part to play in that, John, because I bet you anything those guys were in there to get a pump and get sweaty and then go take a picture of how how sweaty they got during their workout. It's probably all just for show.
I think you're right, because right outside the sauna, which is in the men's locker room, a huge mirror, and every time we're in there, we see somebody posing or flexing or whatever in that mirror. So that's
right.
Hey, there was once, I was at the gym, and a guy set a tripod outside the sauna, but facing in the sauna, and was working out with dumbbells in the sauna, videotaping himself.
Yeah, it gets views, And the more ridiculous you can be, the more views you can get. The problem is it's like smoking. It's like secondhand smoking. If they're smoking, so are you. And so all of their nastiness and all of the,
But is it views because people think it's a train wreck and they just want to see what's going to happen next, or?
It's just what's the most ridiculous and absurd thing that you can put on. Because it is. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away. It doesn't have to make any sense. It doesn't have to even mean anything. It's just it has to capture your attention, because that's really what it is. It's attention-seeking behavior.
Yeah, but you're filming in the locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be an invasion of privacy, right? For some, I mean, it's just.
You would think so, yeah, 100%.
I mean, again, and the workers walk by, they come in and they just use the bathroom or walk out or whatever, and it's just like.
Showers around the corner.
Yeah, you're not going to tell this guy he can't videotape himself in the sauna. I mean, again, it comes back to your thing. He's like, I think the younger generation, they're afraid to question people on what they're doing because it becomes a lack of communication. It's the ability that they don't know how to say, hey, look, or they don't want to be the bad person. Go, I got to go tell that guy he's older than me. Hey, or, oh my gosh, that girl's really pretty. If I go over there and talk to her and tell her she's got to pick up her weight, she's going to be mad at me. And it's like, that's your job.
Or even worse, consider the social media aspect. And I know that's kind of what I keep bringing up here, but consider the effect, the social media effect on all of this. A lot of the issues that we're speaking about have to do with people who are doing things for views on social media or whatever else. So imagine you go over there and you try to stop somebody, and now they turn the camera on.
Oh, that'll get more views.
All of a sudden, you're on social media. Look at this employee who I was just minding my own business, working out, and they come up here, and just because I was on my phone and I was in between sets, I was doing my rest, whatever. Just they told me that I had to leave, and then they start filming the entire thing, and they start making it bigger than it actually needs to be, and then all of a sudden you find yourself like in the middle of something that you had no anticipation doing, which is, I think, a lot of the reason that people just don't bother.
Yeah.
They're like, forget it.
Just I'll walk away, or I'll drive home and be old and bitter about it rather than say something.
Yeah.
We do have a friend that works at the gym, and he said that he went and told people they had to start re-racking their weights.
Yeah.
And management told him he had to be a little softer in his delivery.
Really?
So it's like, I'm going to pick up your mess and I'm going to be nice. Hey, you need to re-rack your weights.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to be nicer about that. I mean, excuse me, I noticed you had 12 wheels on each side of the leg press. Any chance maybe, if you feel like it, maybe you could put those away. If not, don't worry, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, what example are we setting?
My goodness, I don't know. Because I was in management before, and I was just, hey, that doesn't look good. We need to fix that. Like, it's just direction.
This might be your rule, but this is how I interpret your rule. And my interpretation's right. Your rule's wrong.
That's right. I reject your reality and substitute my own.
I think it's just, I don't know. It's frustrating when you go in and it's just like, I went the other day by myself and I was just doing, I think it was back or buys or whatever it was. And I go in there and it's just like, everybody's on their phone. And it was a younger crowd that was there. It was, like a Saturday around 11:30 or whatever. And it was mostly, younger people, but I would probably say, and I'm not exaggerating, 70% of those people had their phones out.
Really?
And the people who didn't have them were the older people, like myself and some, a bunch of older people, maybe my age, maybe a little bit younger. But it was a younger generation who had their phones, had the tripod set up, and the guy singing, with his headset in and letting everybody know what he was singing about. And, it's just like everybody looks and it's like, are you doing that because you want attention? Are you doing that at a just lack of respect for everybody else? But then it comes back to you. Is it
Or it's just lack of awareness.
Yeah, lack of awareness. It's the communication aspect. And, I don't know if it's ever going to change. I think our society today they say it's okay. But if, you listen around, you listen to other podcasts and other people, it's just like, they're the same way. Hey, dude, be respectful. Put away your stuff. But again, it's the I don't want to say older people, but it's, the people who are in their late 20s, 30s, because, you get a lot of these high school kids, they rack the weights and they leave. Right. They leave their stuff on the ground. They leave their towels, their water bottles, whatever makes the case may be. But I guarantee you they won't leave one thing. They won't leave that phone.
You're right.
Yeah. They won't pick up their weights. But I think what we've touched on is a good point is the lack of communication.
Right.
And I think, that's where we need to really, really refocus. And I think for us, next week, let's focus on the lack of communication and the effects the social media has had on our youth and how things have changed from when we were kids to where we are now.
I think what we're seeing is a direct result of bringing the world into the gym to try and bring the gym into the world, and then making it completely about yourself. People just don't, because we are so disconnected or so alone, and people are searching for a connection and for validation. They're sharing a part of their lives, or actually they're not sharing a part of their lives. They're showing a farce.
Yeah.
We're just playing dress up at the costumes.
Yeah.
And look at me, I'm lifting weights, but that's the whole point. It's just look at me, because that's how they're getting their validation.
Yeah. Most of the times, would you say those are people working out on their own?
Most of the time, Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
percentage is probably higher.
And see, like for me, I'm all about people working out. I think it's great. I mean, I don't have anything about anyone.
But I enjoy it more going with people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because you got a spotter there. You got someone in case something happens. I mean, you got your friends there to talk to. You're not on your cell phones, whatever. And like I said, I am all about people taking care of themselves, whether it be weight training, Pilates, aerobic, whatever you want to do. But there has to be the guidelines and the respect issue of all the things that we talked about from, just basic stuff that it's common sense. You pick up your weight, you put them away. Yeah, courtesy.
Yeah.
If you're on your phone, take a step to the side and let people work out. Don't be the gym hog who says, no, you have to wait till I'm done.
Right.
And again, it's are we going to fix it? No, because it's always going to be there. But it's just, if we could put out, it's just common sense.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, we really need to look and focus on why is it so difficult to kind of just follow basic rules that you need to know.
Yeah.
You need to know about.
We need Joey Swole, man.
So.
He's old. He can't figure out his alarm.
Yeah, exactly.
Top right-hand corner, you see that?
There we go. See how old and bitter? There we go. Old and bitter, that's us. So, for episode 1, this has been Old and Bitter. I'm John, and I'm old and bitter. We got Scott, who's old, and Ricky, who is
just bitter.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.